Hello and welcome to the latest edition of Deccan Herald Newsroom. In Parliament today, the Union government, the Modi government and its Rural Development Minister Shivraj Singh Chauhan introduced a new bill that seeks to repeal the MNREGA or the Job Guarantee Scheme or the proposal or the program which was started by the Manmohan Singh government in 2005. It has been running for almost 2 decades now. The Modi government now seeks to repeal that bill and bring in a new alternative bill which is being called the Viksit Bharat Guarantee for Rozgar and Ajivika Mission Gramin VBG-RAM-G. That is the acronym for the bill. Over the years, we have seen that this government has sought to rename many policies and programs, especially the ones that started in the past and that had especially names associated with personalities, political personalities associated in the past with the Congress. That notwithstanding, but this particular bill has great significance because it affects the state governments. It has come to the aid of the government, state governments, central governments in the time of distress. We have seen that this scheme work during the post-COVID era also, when there were large-scale job losses across the country. To discuss all this, I have with me today Shamin Joy, who is our correspondent, covers Parliament and the Lok Sabha. But before going into Shamin and speaking to him about the bill, various provisions of the bill, let us hear what the Union Minister for Rural Development, Shivraj Singh Chauhan, had to say today when he introduced the bill in the Parliament.
माननीय अध्यक्ष महोदय, मैं प्रस्ताव करता हूं कि मुझे विकसित भारत गारंटी फॉर रोजगार एंड आजीविका मिशन ग्रामीण VBG-RAM-G विकसित भारत G-RAM-G बिल 2025 को सभा में पूरा स्थापित करने की अनुमति दी जाए। G-RAM-G.
That was Shivraj Singh Chauhan while introducing the bill, defending the name change or the rechristening of the bill. But the opposition has not been impressed ever since it came to be known that the government intends to introduce this bill in Parliament. They have opposed it. In fact, this morning in Parliament, we saw outside the Parliament that opposition MPs, they gathered together and they protested. We also have reactions from various MPs from the political parties, opposition parties, what they had to say about the introduction of the bill in Parliament.
Ram Rajya and Gram Swaraj were intertwined in Mahatma Gandhiji's mind. So it was a very good choice of name to begin with, and everyone knows the scheme for the last 20 years as, in various Indian languages, as the Mahatma Gandhi National Rural Employment Scheme. So why change it now? You can change the terms of the scheme, debate it in Parliament, that's the government's prerogative. But changing the name is unnecessary.
This is so silly behavior of BJP government. They cannot erase Mahatma Gandhiji's name in our nation.
ग्रामीण जनता के लिए, जो हमारे सबसे गरीब भाई बहनों के लिए जो अधिकार है वो खत्म करेंगे।
जी राम जी के नाम से नाम रखा गया है। अगर राम भगवान पुरुषोत्तम, मर्यादा पुरुषोत्तम भगवान राम के नाम से कोई स्कीम भी चलानी थी तो नई स्कीम चलाते। महात्मा गांधी जी का नाम हटाकर और ये नाम रखने का क्या औचित्य है?
We will take it to the people that Shivraj Chauhan and Narendra Modi you are removing Mahatma Gandhi's name.
But the minister has finally introduced the bill. Then the next, obviously, the stage is its discussion, its passage. To discuss all that, we have Shamin Joy with me, our correspondent who covers these issues. Shamin, there were some very basic fundamental difference about the MNREGA and the new bill which is being called. It's a very complex
You're finding
acronym.
it difficult to...
VBG-RAM-G bill.
Yeah.
Yeah, because MNREGA after Mahatma Gandhi, I mean, it's become part of the, the parlance here, the journalistic parlance. But tell me, one issue which I think very clearly differentiates is that this particular bill, the MNREGA, was about the universal rights of providing jobs. How is this bill, the new bill, different as far as the guarantee for jobs on labor is concerned?
See, in the MNREGA bill, it was a demand-driven. It was demand-driven job guarantee scheme. Where if you demand for a job, then
Who would demand?
A worker, a person in the rural area who doesn't have a job, who demands a job. It was his right to. It was government's duty to provide him job. It was his right to get that job. So it was in a sort of a constitutional right, if not a fundamental right. In this particular bill, in the new bill which is introduced in Parliament, we don't know whether it will go to the standing committee, even though there were reports from after the Business Advisory Committee yesterday on Monday that this may go to the standing committee. But like government is sending mixed signals, opposition is claiming that government has no intention to send it. In Parliament, in Lok Sabha also, all the opposition MPs demanded that it be sent to the standing committee. So in the new bill, it is supply driven. So the issue is that the government will decide this work has to be done, and for that there is labor we need to
So from the demand side, it comes to the supply side.
It comes to the supply side. That is where the opposition as well as the activists are objecting to.
Why?
Because the thing is that even though the government might be claiming that there is no rural distress, opposition as well as the activists claim that there is rural distress, and when you take out MNREGA, the provision, this distress will increase. Second thing, you have to remember that in 2015, the Prime Minister had actually derided this scheme, calling it as a den of corruption and all. But during COVID, as you mentioned, during the COVID pandemic, we saw MNREGA working, acting as a lot of relief for the rural poor who were, like the migrant laborers who had to come back to their homes without job, without money. So MNREGA had acted as a...
No, but in this, when we are turning it into a demand, from demand driven to supply driven, are we sort of saying that it is not the people who decide whether they want the work or whether they are looking for work? It is the people who are providing the jobs. They are now in a position to decide whether to give jobs or not.
Yeah.
So earlier, when the entire process was being decentralized to the extent that the panchayat level, where they would decide that they need jobs, work, it is probably the people who are providing jobs, in this case the state, as in the political science, they decide.
See, this MNREGA was working from the not the top to bottom things. It was from bottom to top. Even though you have the central government, and now it's almost the central government is deciding what kind of work. There is a framework, more a tight framework than compared to the earlier one. See, even though this particular bill gives a provision for an unemployment allowance and all, it may not work when like the person who wants a job, who needs some sustenance through, okay, I'm willing to work, give me job. That option is not there. If there is an availability of a project, if the government has decided, you can.
But there was also criticism of MNREGA on various issues, that there was pilferage at the ground level. The money probably was not reaching. The entire money was not reaching. But yes, there have been criticism also of this scheme.
Another criticism was about this asset creation, because many of these works were not productive. That was the kind of
you are digging a pit and then
digging a pit, then you are covering it. This kind of criticism was there. But like in a rural economy, that may be a simplification of this thing, and this asset creation argument may have some merit. But overall, this particular bill is a little bit of, it takes away, we'll discuss it at a later stage about the funding issue is there. Because earlier it was only 10% of the project cost would have come to the state. Now it is 40 plus. So,
yes, that obviously is an issue what the state governments have raised, that earlier it was 10%. I think it was 100% as far as the wages were concerned, and 75% as far as the material cost was concerned. Now it is, I think, that would have come to approximately 90-10.
90-10, yeah.
Now it is 40% states.
60% by the center.
And for northeastern states and hill states, I think for most of the centrally sponsored schemes, it is 90-10. That has maintained.
Yeah.
But in this case, I think, what do you see in the bill if you look at the fine print? When center is providing this money, is it that, they have the powers to cap the allocation of the money also? in specific cases?
See, there is a capped budget for this. I've seen in MNREGA, the budget could rise. I mean, like even if you have allocated, say, 50,000 crore, depending on the demand, you can raise the raise the bar. In this particular thing, the central government decides one particular this thing, and you have to work in this. So what
for when you're saying that for allocation for a specific state is also capped, you're saying?
Yeah, it depends on state to state.
Okay.
The overall budget might be capped. Then for state also, you have to specific. All these projects have to be cleared by through a mechanism. See, earlier the Rural Development Ministry was the system. Now you have a council. Mostly, we can. Right now we don't know the exact contours of what the council will be. The membership of the council will be. Even though there are some wider this thing that there will be state representatives and all. Usually these kind of councils always happen ends up as a bureaucratic exercise. So the central will have a bigger say in how this scheme runs.
No, but one thing which the center has been saying is that they are increasing the number of working days from 100 to 125, and that in many ways also compensates for if there are any.
But we have to see in the MNREGA also. I'm not sure whether they are they are able to give 100 days of guaranteed employment. So when you can't give that 100 days guaranteed employment, what are you talking about 120? See, the biggest problem with this bill is that we suddenly understand. Okay, forget about the name change or the politics behind it, the arguments behind it. We don't see any pre-legislative consultations before this bill. Suddenly we come to know that some kind of a bill is coming. Initially, the source-based stories after the cabinet meeting.
So you're saying that with the stakeholders there has been no consultation?
There has been no consultation, at least not in the public domain. Maybe they might have consulted with some ministries and all, or maybe states also. We don't know. Like opposition states are saying that there was no consultation. So in the kind of a bill which had say 1 lakh crore annually allocation or spending, suddenly you have no concern. You come up with this thing. So maybe yes, or any scheme needs a little bit of tweaking. You have to change over a period of time. Everything people will understand, but there was no consultation in this particular.
There's one thing which there has been a criticism of MNREGA, especially in the past. Even UPA ministers like Sharad Pawar and all would say that MNREGA has affected the farm labor, availability of farm labor, especially during the sowing seasons. Now they are trying to tackle that particular issue, isn't it?
Yeah, you see, RBI also had a similar study. In 2011, there was a huge debate in the UPA cabinet, Jairam Ramesh and Sharad Pawar exchanging letters over this issue. The argument of Sharad Pawar, yes, it's true that there was a lack of availability of agricultural laborers. But the counter by Jairam Ramesh at that time was that the bargaining power of the laborer has increased. Now, if the MNREGA wages is higher than agricultural labor, we have to look at that option also. So, why people are not going for agricultural laborer? The wages are less, maybe the
work is more.
Work is more, whatever. Strenuous. So, you are not strenuous, and that kind of a compensation you are not getting from agricultural labor. So, you cannot blame MNREGA for that. So every person have the right to get a decent
more money for the work.
More money for the work. So today Shivraj Chauhan also said that we are trying to address the spirit of the essence of what Sharad Pawar said in 2011 in this thing. But these arguments, there are counter arguments on these things. So in the bill it is said that during the peak season, harvesting and sowing, there should not be any MNREGA work. So these kind of things, how it will work. See, these kind of things you need a little bit more bigger stakeholder discussion, consultation. So creating an atmosphere for implementing these things. So you can bulldoze it. If the central government tomorrow passes it in parliament, it will be implemented. See, it should not be a fait accompli, these kind of laws.
Okay, thank you, Shamin, very much. Though the BJP has issued a 3-line whip to its parliamentarians, especially Lok Sabha MPs, to be present in parliament in this last week of the winter session, and the intent is to get the legislative business done. It's going to be a very busy week, this one, before the parliament breaks after the winter session. There is the insurance bill which has been introduced by the government. There are a couple of other bills, including one on the education, regulation of the higher education and the nuclear power. We'll keep you updated on the various developments in Parliament. That's all we have in today's edition of Deccan Herald Newsroom. Thanks for watching.